Good morning. Today is the 28th of August and I'm going to go through my pre-market levels. Before we start, let's look and see what news could move the market. Nothing pre-market, and we've got some oil news coming up at 10:30 and that's probably about it. Fed speaking after market closes as well. Lots of news tomorrow though, and we've got something of significance today is Nvidia earnings after market. Let's go by market cap. Nvidia, and we've got a few others as well, but Nvidia is a big one tonight, and that will most likely move the market after market, and we might get to see a bit of a break out of this range we've been in now since Monday the 19th. We've just been hovering around this range. Let me just open up my pen. Where is it? Here we go. So we'll go back. So we've been sitting in this range for some time now, and we're looking for something, a catalyst, to either push us out of the range in either direction. Maybe the Nvidia is going to be what does that today. And you can see over the last few days we are literally in this really tight range there, and we've but this is SPY. I'll start off with ES. And the range is the same on ES, exactly the same. So we've got this really tight range there we've seen over the last few days. I haven't been able to break out of that, so that's kind of the areas I'm watching today as part of my watch list. And this is the range we've been in for the last almost week and a half, 2 weeks. So we need to get out of that area. Levels for today. This is the 1 hour ES time frame. It's the S&P E-mini futures. I've got this area I'm looking for, pre-market high 56.50, potentially a rejection. I'll also consider a break and retest long as well. And for the rejection, I want to see it doing something similar to this, coming into that area and then break the trend, and then preferably a retest short. So 56.50 is one area I'm watching, and I think yesterday I was watching that as well. 56.60, break and retest long. Like I said, I will consider a rejection. I'm just looking at my notes. Got this pre-market low level here as well, and potentially if we break it, I'll be looking for a break and retest short. We've got a big gap down till we get to yesterday's low, and even yesterday's pre-market low as well. And that leads me into my next play. So the pre-market low is 56.36. So I'm watching that area. Let's just add that in as well. You can see right now we're in between the two areas we're watching, and that level I'm going to move to the pre-market level. I like to make fine adjustments every day, and then I'm watching for a bounce down at the 56.20 area, this area here. You can see we've held it for a few days there. We came in, we held it there, we held it there. Even though we lost it, we came back, came close to retesting it on yesterday's session low, and we've got the 200 moving average coming up into that region as well. So I quite like this area. As for the entry area, I'll consider this area here, but preferably that area. So 56.24, yesterday's low, or wherever the 200 moving average happens to be. 56.21 is an area I'm watching as well. So this is the region I'll be looking for a bounce. So if I was to pick and choose an area, it would probably be this region just here for the bounce, and lots of confluence, lots of pivots, lots of bottom tails as well. And I think that's it really. That's all I'm watching for. Obviously we've got this major area I'm watching as well. If we can get down to that area, and that's at 55.88, 55.86 area, and that's another bounce area. And you can see we had a massive big move down and a big reaction back up. So that's an area of demand I'll be watching for a bounce. Okay, so SPY next. Similar, almost the same actually. So we're in this small 2-day range. We need to get out of that to see some form of movement. So I'll be watching for a break and retest long of the pre-market high, which is 562.30 area. I'll also consider that as a rejection as well. So I'll be looking for a break of this trend into that area, come back down, maybe put in a double top for the rejection. And then we got yesterday's low, which we've held for the last couple of days there, kind of in that area as well. We've held it here as well. So I'm kind of watching 559, or basically 559.60 for a bounce. If we lose that area, we've got another bounce area at 558.32, and similar to ES, the pre-market low, a break and retest short, and that will be breaking this current hourly trend as well. So pre-market low area is 560.84, yesterday's low 559.60, down to 558.30. So this region I'm watching for a bounce. If we lose that area, we can try and look for a short, maybe a retest into that area, and we've got a bounce area at 555.99, or sorry, 554.99, basically 555. We had a level there, and we came back down and we held. So that's our bounce area there as well. Big reaction again. 200 moving average will probably be meeting us up around that area as well. So that's why I quite like it for the bounce. SPX. I don't trade SPX, but I do watch the levels. If I'm looking for a rejection on ES, then I don't want SPX to be above that area. It was because it's more likely to bounce than it is to reject. So I'm looking for SPX to come into that area and also line up with the trade. We can watch yesterday's high area, 556.40 to 56.51 area for potential rejection, or we can watch it for the break and retest long. And then if we get below the 50 moving average, which is what we're just talking about on SPY and ES, I'll be looking for a break and retest short on ES, but I want to be below the 50 moving average and below 56.02. Bear in mind 5600 is a psychological number and we've held it for a few days, so we need to get below that for me to consider a short on ES. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. NQ next. Okay, I do like this pattern, bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern. You can see the neckline. So I quite like the break and retest of pre-market high, although we are coming into this 200 moving average, so we need to keep an eye on that. And if we can get above this area, then we've got a big distance up till we get to the next area, 19,850. So basically 19,750 is the break and retest long area, maybe the pre-market high area we can watch as well. And then if we lose 19,530, then we can look for a short below break and retest. Probably can watch it below the pre-market low at 19,605. QQQ. Same, we need, if we get below yesterday's low, this area here, we really need to get below the 200 moving average as well, and then break, retest 474 rejection. Otherwise, the break and retest long over pre-market high I quite like as well, into 481.60 as a target. Crude oil, kind of in this range. And potentially we could even draw in a tighter range. How's that look if I did that? Look at that, so it's kind of tightening up the range a little bit here. And if I were to put this together, you can see, oh hang on, we're kind of holding this range. This is the overall daily range here, and this is the more hourly range, and it's within the daily, so we are tightening up a little bit. So I quite like the bounce down in this region, 71.66 to 72. We kind of bounced at this area already today. and if we get back up into this area, 77.50, 77 area, we can look for the rejection as we're tightening up. Let's just scroll out a bit, let's get rid of those. So this is the general picture we're looking at. Let's go to the daily. This is the daily, and you can see quite clearly we're in that daily wedge pattern. Been holding it all the way up, still holding it, and we're tightening and tightening, and eventually something's going to snap. And whether it's going to be today or the next few weeks, one way or the other, we're going to find out. So that's what I'm watching. If we break out over these ranges, then I'll be looking for trades in those directions. Let's go back to the hourly. But right now, inverse head and shoulders, nice move up a few days ago. If we come back down, the only place I can see a bounce is probably not far from where we are, this area here, looking at areas of confluence. We've got that area, that area, that area. You could say we could be watching this entire region for a bounce. That's kind of where we are right now. Otherwise, if we lose pre-market low, we can look for a rejection down, targeting these trend line areas. Gold has broken out of the daily or this hourly wedge, and we had this level in, we talked about this yesterday, holding that level there. Look at where the pre-market came right into that level and bounced. We're back up there now. The only places I like the rejection at yesterday's high. I like the break and retest of, we're quite far away from pre-market. Pre-market iron that will get us above all these downward moving averages. So I've got three of them there, the 9, the 20 and the 50. If we can get above there, we can look for a retest into yesterday's high, and if we break over that, we can look for another retest. I'm not sure, it's not all-time highs, I don't think. Oh yeah, into all-time highs, so we're not far off all-time highs, and that is going back to the middle of August. And that's it, and we can watch for a bounce down on this trend line again, and we've got an area 2500 psychological number. I've got an alert close to that area as well, so we can watch for a bounce down there. And that's it for gold, RTY. Let's draw in a trend line. I think it warrants it. Look at this trend line. We're holding it at the moment. So what I like is a rejection at 24, 22.40, 22.50 area for the rejection. Big area, in fact I'm going to mark that up as well. Because not only if it's a pivot there, it's an area of confluence across here. You know, bottoms of candles, tops of candles, or tops of pivots over there. So 22.50 for the rejection, or we can watch a bounce at 21.90 area for the bounce down here, and that'll be coming into the 200 moving average. We are holding this trend line as well. We did break through it a few times, so it's a rough idea, but we can expect a bounce, or not expect one, but I'd like to take a bounce at 21.90. That's it for RTY. Lastly, YM. Let's also draw the trend line in. You can see here the trend line, we held it, use that pivot close to that one and that pivot there, held it again, and now we've broken down. So if we can get down below the 50 moving average, I quite like the break and retest of pre-market lows, looking very top heavy. RSI is up in the upper area as well, so it's very overbought. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, retest of the right shoulder. Definitely it's broken the high. Yeah, I do quite like the short down here with the target of that area. So short at 41.300. yeah, 41,300 psychological number. I do quite like that for the short. I'll keep an eye on this. Break and retest a pre-market low. Let's just put an alert in. So, and then we've got a potential target of obviously yesterday's low, and if we lose that area, then we've got this area of confidence as well down here, which is, and we're coming into the point of control at 41,000. So that's the only level. Not sure I want to go long, but we could watch for break and retest a pre-market high, yesterday's high, to trail this trend line up with a target potentially, what's that, Monday's highs, and that's it really. So Bitcoin is the last one, and I'll look at some order flow. Let's go to the daily. Get rid of that. Okay, so in that range still. Coming to this bounce point, I did add a little tiny bit more yesterday, just as we came into that level. There's not really much to say really. Obviously we can watch for a bounce there and there, major area, and we can watch for the rejection of these pivots, 64,000 psychological number, or what we're waiting for the break and retest. We're waiting for it to break out of this channel. And I think I've talked about it a few times. We've got this bullish pattern as well, which is a cup and handle pattern. That's the cup and that's the handle. It's very bullish. And so kind of every time we pull him back, I'm just adding little tiny bits to my Bitcoin, waiting for it to eventually break out. If it doesn't and we lose the channel, then that's fine. I'm in it for the long term. I'm looking for an add down here at 40,000. That's my next one. Obviously I'm watching 50,000 as well. But we've got areas of volume and confidence as well, so it takes something for it to break down, but not saying it won't, but it can. Okay, back to ES, and we'll just look at the order flow, see how that's been looking today. Open up my, so on my screen got 4 windows. The ones I really look is the top right. This is the footprint range. This is the 10 range. This is the 5-minute footprint. On the top left, top right's the 10 range. I mainly watch the 10 range because it just plots it every 10 ticks rather than every 5 minutes. We've got the 30-minute in this corner, and on here I've got it filtered just to show large orders. So I like to see where large orders are, historic ones, and these red lines on the chart, that indicates large orders. It should replicate what we see here as well. So if it's a very large order, you see a little asterisk. Anything over, I think it's over 400, and then you see a thicker red line on this on the screen as well. So if I, is it 50, 52, 22? That's probably quite far down. Yeah, it's not even on the chart. It's too far down. But we've got 550 orders sitting at that level waiting. So it's obviously a big institute waiting for it to come back down to buy. And then this is a chart I really pay attention to. We've got the cumulative delta divergence. So this is the 2-minute price, and we're putting in a bit of a double bottom on the 2-minute, but cumulative delta, let's just change this to the line. So this is our 2-minute, come back up and then down, potential double bottom, and this is the cumulative delta showing us aggressive selling. We weren't really able to get over that pivot, but we did come back up. We are in line with what's going on, but we are putting in a lower low rather than here it's an equal low. So we are showing a bit more aggressive selling, but we are still in the positives, 3,600 cumulative delta. Yesterday it's all in the negatives, but today it's all in the positives. So we are looking at more aggressive buying and selling, but what I'm looking for is divergence. So if the price starts rising but the cumulative delta is declining, then potentially if I'm at a 60-minute level, the level's just gone through, and I'll be looking for a reversal. So this is one of the things I look for in a reversal. I'm looking for a delta or a divergence. And then I'm also looking, there's other clues I'm looking, if I'm looking for a bounce, looking for a bottom and looking for a bounce, then I'll be looking for a lot of absorption around these areas. with no follow through, so lots of orders, lots of buyers but with no follow through, and I'll be looking for green deltas. Even on red bars there'll be a green delta. For example, here we've got this big red bar here, but we've got a green delta of 33. It's pretty neutral, we'll be looking for bigger ones. So here's another clue, we could see another reversal. We've got a green bar but with a red delta, and that usually shows you that there's something normally, and we're looking to change direction. And then I also look for stacked imbalances, so these two red in a row, I'm looking for 2, 3 or 4 in a row. So for example here, I'll pay attention to this one because it's got 3 imbalances. They're quite low volume because it's pre-market, so that basically means the 52 orders versus on the bid against 4 orders on the ask. It's diagonal, so that's the bid and ask. 61 we had 0, 14 we had 0, so that's usually a sign that the trend's going to continue down. Here we've got a double imbalance, but sometimes if it's at a bottom coming into a bounce area, that also could be just limit orders triggering. And that's it, there's no buying imbalances, so we've got a couple here. I'm not really interested in ones or twos, I'm looking for lots of imbalances, nothing really to see. But here on the 5 minute you can see a couple there. That usually shows you a sign that the price is coming down, and then green ones should sign the price is coming back up. Here we go, we had stacked imbalances of large orders, and that's an area to watch later as well. So you don't see this volume unless you've got a volume profile tool or something, but later on the price comes back down, we could see more buyers down in that area, 56.39, and we could see it push back up or bounce, or again if it breaks down below it we can use it as a resistance area. So there's lots of reasons to look for these stacked imbalances, and obviously watching the divergence as well. Okay, well, market opens in 7 minutes. Trade safe, and I will be back tomorrow at 9 AM. Thank you for watching.